So if you started making cocktails and you're looking to throw your first cocktail party, then a huge question that you probably have is, how do I come up with the exact menu for my cocktail party? Well, luckily for you guys, I've been home bartending for nearly 6 years now, and I've thrown over 60 cocktail parties during that time. And in this video, I'm going to be sharing the exact strategy that I've used to come up with the cocktail menus for all of those different types of parties. And this is a strategy that you can apply essentially an endless amount of times, no matter how many cocktail parties you're going to throw this year and in the coming future. This is a strategy that you can use. So let's get right into it. I think there are really three schools of thought when it comes to coming up with the cocktail menus for your different cocktail parties. Really, the third school is kind of a blend of the first two schools of thought. So let's get right into it and start with school of thought number one. So the first way to approach how to come up with the cocktail menus for your different cocktail parties is to just think of what the theme is for that party. And if your party doesn't have a theme, you can actually, at this time, apply a theme to that party. And the way I like to do this is it really depends on what type of year it is. I like to theme my parties either based on the season, spring, summer, fall, winter, or you can do it based on the holiday of that time of year. I'm recording this right now in May, so we just had Cinco de Mayo pass. Coming up, we have the 4th of July in the summer. End of the year, we have Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, things like that. Beginning of the year, we have New Year's, Super Bowl, Mardi Gras, St. Patrick's Day, things like that. So depending on what type of time of year it is, you can do a cocktail theme and a party theme based on the holiday that's occurring at that time of year. You can also do it based on certain events. I already mentioned the Super Bowl, which is sort of a mix between an event and a holiday itself. But you can also do it for different birthdays. You can do it based on, if somebody's celebrating something, like somebody just got engaged, somebody just got a promotion at work in your friend group or something like that. You can do it to celebrate that type of event, a big birthday or something like that. So, or if you have different events, like, I do fantasy football, so I threw a party last year for the draft for my fantasy football league. So if you have different types of events like that, you could actually do a cocktail party theme based on whatever that event is going to be. You can do it based on a birthday or a special, like a job promotion at work, or somebody celebrating getting married or having kids or something like that. You can do something to celebrate that. So you can do it based on the time of year. You can do it based on the holiday. You can do it based on, just the whatever event is going on in your friend group or in your community at that time of year. Or, you could just come up with a theme arbitrarily yourself. You could just say, like, I want to do a cowboy themed party, or, or a Western style party. I want to do a space themed party. I want to do a ski themed party. Like, whatever party you want to do, you could just come up arbitrarily with a theme because, you're the host. You can come up with a theme, and then you can just base your cocktails off of that. So just to give you a few examples, this could be a whole 2-hour, conversation if I wanted to give you exact examples on every single type of holiday, event, birthday party, whatever, things like that. But, just a few examples, Cinco de Mayo just passed. So you could do all of how do you come up with a menu for a Cinco de Mayo themed party? Cinco de Mayo is associated a lot with tequila and mezcal. So you could just do 2 or 3 different tequila or mezcal based drinks for that party. If you are throwing a party for Mardi Gras, it's late February, you're throwing a party for Mardi Gras. Well, Mardi Gras is obviously associated with New Orleans. So you want to come up with New Orleans style cocktails. So you can do things like the Hurricane, Ramos Gin Fizz, Vucare, Sazerac, things like that are associated with New Orleans. If you want to do a party for St. Patrick's Day obviously associated with green, so you would use a bunch of cocktails that contain Midori. So you come up with a bunch of green cocktails that contain Midori to fit that theme of St. Patrick's Day. If you want to do, and then you can also do it based on the time of year, just different flavor profiles in different times of the year. Summer is going to be, you want to do more like tropical, so you can do things like, you can do tiki drinks, you can do any type of drink that contains pineapple juice, you can do any type of drink that contains rum. Winter, you have more of these like warm type of flavors. You want things like heavy cream, cognac, bourbon, or some type of whiskey. So things like the penicillin or, the Brandy Alexander are great examples of cocktails that incorporate those wintry flavors. So if you're throwing a party in December, January, February, you want to have those kind of cocktails there. So like I said, this could be a whole massive conversation where I give you specific examples on every type of specific event or party or holiday or season or things like that. If you're doing a birthday party, whoever's birthday it is, what type of cocktails do they like? If they like vodka cocktails, you can do a Moscow Mule. If they like sour cocktails, you can do a whiskey sour or, a bee's knees or something like that. So whatever flavor profiles they like, you can do different cocktails based on that. So if you have a cocktail theme based on a specific event, holiday, time of year, it's very easy to then come up with cocktails because you just think of cocktails that fit that theme. So that is the first school of thought for how to come up with a different menus for different cocktail parties. The second school of thought is honestly just make whatever cocktails you want to make. Because you're the host, you have this freedom. If you are really into a certain type of spirit or a certain type of flavor profile or a certain type of cocktail, just make that the cocktails that you want to make for that specific party. This is the way I did it, especially when I first started off. Later on, I did a lot more themed parties, but especially when I was first starting off, it would more just be like, I learned this specific cocktail. I then want to do a party where I incorporate that cocktail. So that's how it would be. Usually on my cocktail menus, I had 3 cocktails on each menu. That I found was the sweet spot. So it would just be like, what were the last 3 cocktails I learned? Those are going to be the 3 cocktails that I make. That works for a couple of different reasons. One is that, you just learned that cocktail. You really want to show it off. This is especially true if you're a beginner or intermediate home bartender. You really want to see if other people like your cocktails, if your skills are very good, if you're progressing in the right way. You want to get some feedback on your cocktails, things like that. Another reason it works really well is because you already have those ingredients. Because you just made that cocktail, you just learned that cocktail, you already have those ingredients. You don't have to then run to the store and break the bank and buy all these different bottles and different ingredients like mixers and things like that. You already have the ingredients with you. So that works for a lot of different reasons. I think that's a great strategy to use too, especially if you're a beginner or intermediate home bartender. You're first learning these cocktails, you really want to show them off. You want to see if other people like those cocktails. And also you already have the ingredients with you. Go ahead and just do that. And nobody will really say anything like, oh, there's no real theme to this cocktail menu. People just, when they come to your parties, they really just want to try out the cocktails that you're going to be making. They want to have a good time. They want to relax with their friends and family, things like that. So, people aren't going to be too picky about that kind of stuff. If you enjoy the cocktails and you show that same enthusiasm and passion for the cocktails that hopefully I've been demonstrating in these videos, then you're going to have a great time. Your guests are going to really enjoy those cocktails because those are cocktails that you really want to make. So that's the second school of thought. So just to summarize, you can either, when you come up with the different menus for your different cocktail parties, you can either do strategy number 1, which is to pick a theme for that cocktail party and then come up with a menu based on that theme. That theme can be based on the time of year, the holiday, a certain event, anything like that. Or you can arbitrarily just come up with a theme and think of cocktails that fit that theme. The second strategy is to just make whatever cocktails you want to make. So these are usually going to be the cocktails that you just recently learned and you want to try out. You already have the ingredients, or you have a big bar and you want to buy some new bottles, but you want to get rid of some old bottles. Come up with a menu where you just feature a lot of the core spirits that are the ones that you want to, where you want to finish certain bottles and things like that. The third strategy is to really just blend the 2 concepts together. So let's say, it's May right now, you just threw a Cinco de Mayo party. Maybe the first 2 cocktails are going to be tequila-based cocktails. You want to do a margarita and a Mexican firing squad, for example. But then the third cocktail could be, you're practicing your skills, you're learning home bartending, you just learned how to make the old-fashioned. You could just put that as the third cocktail on your menu. Old-fashioned maybe has nothing to do with the whole Cinco de Mayo theme, but it gives you a good variety. Maybe somebody doesn't like tequila, you have another option for a cocktail, and it's a cocktail that you just learned how to make. So you can also do this as another strategy where you sort of blend the 2 strategies together, strategy 1 and strategy 2, and you come up with a combined menu where you have some themed cocktails and some non-themed cocktails. And when you want to come up with a cocktail menu that's really like this, where it's usually 3 cocktails or so, that's a great strategy to use. I've done that plenty of times before where I usually have like the first 2 cocktails are going to be on theme, and then I have a non-themed cocktail for the third cocktail. That's a cocktail that I just learned how to make, or maybe it's spirit that I want to get rid of, or it's something that I really just want to make and see if other people like it. So just to summarize, those are going to be the 3 strategies. I've used this strategy time and time again. I've thrown over 60 cocktail parties as a home bartender in the last nearly 6 years as a home bartender. And those are the strategies that I've used for all those 60 plus parties. Either pick a theme for the party and then come up with a menu based on that theme, or you could just make cocktails that you want to make, cocktails that you just recently learned, cocktails that you want to try out, or you can blend the 2 strategies and come up with a menu that has some themed and some non-themed cocktails. And if you apply this strategy, whether it's your first cocktail party, your 10th cocktail party, your 50th, your 100th cocktail party, this is going to be a strategy that you can use to come up with a menu for a limitless amount of cocktail parties that you throw. Anyways, I hope that video was helpful, and I hope you guys come up with great menu items for your different cocktail parties. If you're having any questions or you're wanting to get some suggestions for a cocktail party that you're throwing in the future, just throw those down in the comments below. I'll try to get to them as soon as possible. If you found this video helpful, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. I like to do 2 styles of videos on this channel. The first one will be like this one, where I answer questions about different bartending topics, go over tips and tricks, do guides on different topics, things like that I hope will help you guys become better home bartenders. The second style of video will be a tutorial where I show you how to make a specific cocktail. And finally, if you really want to take home bartending even more seriously, you want to invest some money into home bartending, I actually have a paid community on school.com. That'll be the first link in the description below. Thank you. Cheers.